And we welcome you to WHTC's Talk of the Town for this Monday, April the 6th. I'm Gary Stevens. We'll be open line following the 10 o'clock news. After the 11 o'clock news block, we will have our comments from Governor Whitmer on the latest update with the state COVID-19 situation. Patty Vandenberg will join us at about an hour from now with What's New Around Holland. And in about an hour, we'll be chatting with State Representative Jim Lilly. But on the other side of our Zoom connection, if all goes well, he should be able to hear us just fine. It is State Representative Luke Meerman of Coopersville joining us. Luke, good morning and welcome to WHTC.
Good morning, Gary. How do I sound to you?
A little bit louder on your end, but other than that, I think we're going to be A-okay. And we're here seeing you just fine. And if you got a question for Luke, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Yeah, it has been a lot has changed over the last couple of months since last we had a chance to chat with you in person. How has the Meerman family handled the situation right now? And of course, as a commercial farmer yourself, that has had an impact as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking, Gary. My family is doing well. Am I still coming through all right?
Yes, you are fine.
My family is doing very well. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers are with all those that are really being affected. Most of our jobs have changed tremendously. Working here from home, remotely, a lot of Zoom conferences, but the family's doing very well.
Now, what has been the biggest thrust for the legislature right now in terms of dealing with the situation? Right now, it's been pretty much on the governor's shoulders as the executive orders with the emergency powers. It's almost as if the legislature is sort of being pushed to the side on that. Do you get that feeling, or is it simply, hey, it's an emergency situation, the governor needs to take leadership on this?
Yeah, that's the effect that emergency orders have, is that they bypass the legislature. So we'll be in on Tuesday, and we'll likely authorize some more time that she can have emergency powers. Right now, we believe those powers have to be authorized after 28 days. So that's what we're going to go back in on Tuesday and do. And it'll be a very interesting voting scenario, how we end up on the House floor and how we vote. But that's our job. But until now, and beyond this, being representatives is extremely important right now.
Talk about Tuesday. We've seen some reports about how things are going to be handled. It may take almost like 3 hours to have the House seated for about a 90-second voice vote on this resolution. A funny feeling a lot of lawmakers are, shall we say, not looking forward to what might be one of the strangest days in state capitol history.
Sure. I appreciate the opportunity to go to Lansing and give our feedback on what the governor's doing. Even though we'll likely be expanding it through April, I still very much hope that we're going to have some small changes that I don't think will bring much risk to us in the general public as far as extra transmission of the disease, but that could help some parts of our economy get moving forward.
The thing that you heard, Peg McNichol wanted me to ask you about the fact that one of the members of the legislature has succumbed to COVID-19. Another member has been affected as well. And that's got to be weighing on the minds of all members of the legislature, both in the House and Senate.
You're absolutely right. In fact, Representative Isaac Robinson, I didn't sleep very well that night. He was a very dear friend of me. And I'm going to miss him tremendously in the House. It was quite a hit to a lot of us, and it was pretty hard to take. And yes, there was another member that had it, seems to be recovering fine. Isaac's mother is in the ICU, last I knew, with COVID-19. So yes, there are healthcare workers every day going to work, and we don't want to increase the risk for anyone throughout the state with us going to work, but we do believe this is very important for us to have that, 28-day oversight, you might say, of what's going on with the governor, and we'll work forward from here.
How important is it of getting more transparency from the state? Another freshman state lawmaker, Greg Van Workum of Norton Shores, sent out a release this week saying that he has sent a letter to the state's chief medical executive about maybe getting some better numbers. What he says, in order to make some informed decisions for the state, talking about numbers in terms of bed capacity and availability, hospitalizations by hospital, average length of stay, aggregate data. How important is to have those numbers for state lawmakers right now?
Well, we've been asking for them, honestly, for weeks and weeks now. We believe that the hospital systems are pushing that data up to the state level, at least in the last 2 weeks. So we think that data should be available. What that data does for us is it helps us understand what's going on around the state. Right now, what we're left with doing is calling each individual hospital system and trying to get feedback from them as to how many are in ICU, how many are in their hospital. As you know, there are some hospital systems that are laying staff off right now. I have some personal experience with that. And it's just something we would like to have to better understand where the COVID-19 is in Michigan and how successful we are with what we're doing in preventing more infections and cases.
If you got a question for State Representative Luke Meerman of Coopersville, he's a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. He'll be happy to take it at 395-1450, 395-1450. One of our regular features on WHTC Morning News every first and third Wednesday of the month, Luke, we have a chance to chat with a dairy farmer from the Hudsonville area, Diane Lowe. She's an author and blogger, and she was conveying some of the concerns that her farm has had in this situation. Most notably, they're getting some mixed signals. One from their co-op saying that be ready to dump milk. Others are saying, hey, we're full steam ahead. We need as much milk as we can get. As a dairy farmer yourself, have you been getting some mixed signals? Just exactly what is the ag industry handling the situation, especially dairy right now?
Absolutely. There's a lot of uncertainty, just as with everybody else in the nation. There's a lot of uncertainty about what's going to be in the future. You are right. There are cases that some farms have dumped milk. It has to do with the change in the demand. Since restaurants aren't picking up as much, there's different kinds of butter that are ordered. Some plants can make that kind of butter that you buy at the grocery store. Some plants, make the butter you might use in the restaurant. Fluid milk, for instance, has seen some dramatic shifts. 2 weeks ago, we had a 60% increase over the week before of demand for fluid milk. Obviously, that can't be met in 1 week. There just isn't that capacity there. So overall, it's quite unclear as to what the demand will be, with the dollar continuing to increase as the United States continues to look like a country that is a good place to invest your money. When you look around the world, I'm not saying we're in good health. I'm not saying that we're a great place. It's just that when you decide where to put your money around the world, the United States looks to be a good place. But that drives up our dollar, and 20% of milk is export. 20% of milk is exported.
Again, if you have a question for Luke Meerman, he'll take it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Some of the situations that have happened as a result of the COVID-19 situation, most notably the governor's executive order, stay home, stay safe, it's expected to expand. I'm going to talk about that with you in a minute, but I do have a caller. Good morning. You're on the line with State Representative Luke Meerman.
Okay.
Yes, you're.
I was wondering how the price of milk has been affected and what the price of milk is for hundredweight.
Did you hear that, Luke?
Yes, I did. I guess I'm not up to speed on current. I know the futures have been falling because of the uncertainty and because of the thought that we export might drop. So currently, I believe we're around $17 for 100 pounds of milk, but I could be wrong on that number.
Okay, to answer your question, sir?
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. I've been hearing, and again, I'm just a layman like anything else, down from that to maybe about, it might even bottom out at 12 per 100. And that's not going to be good.
No, their cost of production probably averages 16 right now. So 12 is a long ways below cost of production. We've seen a lot of consolidation in the dairy world, especially in Michigan, Wisconsin, and around the United States. And it's mostly been driven by cost. It's more efficient with a larger farm.
If you got a question for Luke Meerman, the state representative from Coopersville, he'll take it at 395-1450, 395-1450. The point I wanted to make before we got the caller there, Luke, is the fact that the executive order, some are saying, shows some paradoxes or some hypocritical, or lack of a better term. Why is one thing open? Why one thing is not open? And one of the bones of contention I've seen from some of the other colleagues is the fact that state parks are open, but the governor is not allowing people to go out and play golf. It is. I don't know whether or not we can make everybody happy in this situation, but yet, there are some things that are having people scratch their heads about.
There certainly is. The governor of Ohio, over a week ago now, allowed people onto golf courses. The clubhouses are closed. There can't be interaction between staff of the golf course and the public. But remotely, you can reserve your spot in the green tee and reserve your golf cart. So yeah, I would say they're definitely, and those are the things that I'd like to pursue over the next month here, and especially this next week, are some of those things. And for me, the industry that is most ready and needs to have something happen for them is greenhouses, specifically retail sales of the greenhouses. And I'm not saying open the door and like nothing's happening around us with COVID-19, but why not curbside pickup? Why not drop off in your driveway what you order online, where you don't have any interaction with customers? I think there's just many ways that we can get parts and pieces of this economy moving forward, and specifically for greenhouses. Waiting till the end of this month could be the death sentence for some of those greenhouses, and those kind of things weigh heavily on my mind. I am not looking to increase risk for people, increase risk of transmission, but I think there's many best practices we could implement to get some parts of our economy moving forward incrementally as we move through this.
That's a big concern for a lot of people, is what's going to be the aftermath once we get on the other side of this situation. Some are saying, and I've seen some surveys from state officials, that if this continues, it could really do a bad number for small businesses. In fact, I'm trying to get the right number here. The state a survey by the National Federation of Independent Businesses in Michigan saying about half of small businesses say they can survive for no more than 2 months, and a third believe they can remain operational for 3 to 6 months, based on the governor's stay home, stay safe executive order. Certainly, as a small businessman yourself, the aftermath of this, a lot of people don't want to think about it right now because of the more pressing concerns, but people have got to think about what's going to happen to us once this situation is over.
You're absolutely right, Gary. And there is already today a very large hole in our state budget. And I'm not saying people's lives are equivalent to money. They're not, but we have to understand that all of the ways that we help and serve people are driven by tax dollars that are taken in. That's the only way the state government, the federal government, the local governments have money to be able to support and help those, I think, that maybe are in danger of falling all the way to the bottom. So it's a reality, it's life. And how do we pragmatically walk through this and open parts and pieces of our economy? And I would advocate, and I could say that we can do some of this without increasing risk. For instance, if you're an excavator, digging a basement, often they work alone or maybe with one other person. They're in a machine. They're separate from everybody else. They can communicate through the phone. Payments can be made online. There's no reason, I don't think, that they couldn't be actively working today. They're not increasing risk for the rest of us. They don't need to interact with the rest of us. And there's many examples like that. Other states have a lot more going on. Most other shelter-in-place states have some construction going on more than we do. And again, best practices in the construction world could really mitigate some risk. I understand that there's real risk of people getting this, and over in Southeast Michigan, they're in a whole different ball game than we are, and we have not hit our peak here. I will be the first to acknowledge that, but I'm just hoping that we can find some places where we can get some people back to work without increasing risk.
Good morning. You're on the line with Representative Meerman.
Good morning. I have a question, and possibly they can talk about that in the state legislature. As far as lawn care, the basic mowing, I don't mean people who have, all this decorative stuff and bark and 20 people working, but when there's a small firm of one or two, there are a lot of people out there that don't have a lawnmower and that are physically unable to do their own lawns. And I'm wondering what's going to happen, because it's starting to grow and I can't do my own lawn. So I would like to see if that could change. I know my lawn person definitely is not coming out until that ban is lifted, because, they want to remain reputable. And
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard this before, and I have my concerns about this also, that, what is going to happen. That is one of the industries I believe will take somewhat care of herself. I think the governor, I'm hoping after April 13, is going to modify that to some extent. I don't know for sure, but you're right. We had a wonderful thunderstorm about 3 days ago. We had some nice lightning, and the grass is just really greening up, and now we got the heat that's going to come. I believe that's going to be open, but that to me is one of those things, like you mentioned, one person mowing a lawn. There are best practices that can be implemented by landscapers, lawn care, that doesn't heavily increase our risk in the general public. For instance, one person in a truck at a time, taking temperatures of employees as they come in, keeping them out of the office so they're not interacting with each other. There's ways that they can mitigate that risk and yet get parts and pieces of our economy going and get our lawns mowed. So I'm hopeful that will change soon. I'm more concerned about some of the other industries that don't, people don't see their lawns getting mowed, getting long. Some of those other industries are harder for us to see, but they're greatly affecting our economy and jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question for State Representative Luke Meerman. Yeah. As we mentioned before the break about the fact that the cost of this is going to be quite high in more ways than one. We'll get to that point perhaps, but we do have another caller. Good morning. You're on the line with State Representative Luke Meerman.
Good morning. I would like to encourage Luke to insist that there be a board vote for this, whatever issue they are getting called into Lansing for tomorrow. This may have been discussed earlier, but I couldn't hear my radio all the time. And limit this length of that Governor Whitmer's trying to get this extension for, I think, 70 days. I think it's better if we do it, maybe 2 weeks at a time or smaller increments. That's just a very long time not knowing what's coming down the road. So, but at least insist on a board vote, not just a voice vote, so that people are held accountable for how they vote. That's all for today. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the call, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to be 70 days. I can tell you that much. I agree that is way too long. We need to be a little more engaged as things go forward as a legislature and have some more input, influence on what is going on in the state. I agree. It's not going to be 70 days. I think it might match what President Trump has asked for, April 30. But my intent over this week today is that we make a real concerted effort to let our governor know what parts and pieces we think of the economy that could start moving forward safely. So that's through letters and emails. And I think we'll have a real opportunity next week, April 13, to have some impact on that. Yeah, I agree. Not 70 days.
And that brings up my last concern about constitutional rights. Yes, the governor under the state constitution can do some things and suspend some things, but let's not, let's get back to our constitutional safeguards in place once this pandemic is over.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. That's the reason I ran for this seat, and the reason I appreciate the people having me here. It is, to me, of the utmost important that we remember our freedoms and liberties. It is what makes this nation great and wonderful, and it's what's going to get us through this. It's what's going to help us give an answer to the world for what to do with COVID-19. I think a lot of the solutions are going to be found here in the United States, and I'm very hopeful about our economy coming out of this. It's my intention to try to get us through this. As far as the individual businesses, get them back to work as best possible without dramatically increasing risk for everyone else. So I'm excited about what's going to happen here in this state, and I'm hopeful that we'll get through this well.
State Representative Luke Meerman, thank you very much for joining us today on WHTC's Talk of the Town via Zoom today. And if all goes well, we'll chat maybe this way next month, if not face-to-face. I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gary.
And that is State Representative Luke Meerman on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC. Coming up at CBS News with Peter King, followed by WHTC News with Peg McNichol on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.